Might share something we haven't done for a while. Would you guys like to do a little exercise? You can take your pick. I want you to pick a word like confidence, resilience, happiness, love. Pick something like that you want more of in your life. Do you want more resilience, more confidence, more happiness? Pick one, and once you pick one, write it down in the chat window if you can. And we're going wonderfully well. Now, our brain, and I do mean our brain, like our intellectual brain, it's like a, computer in some ways, and it has its own way of storing things, programming things, and neurons firing and wiring, etc., etc. But we want to jump straight into a little process. Now, the idea of this process is going to be to increase this in you. So if you wrote down happiness, resilience, or something, the goal of this little exercise is to improve that for you. Is that okay? Now, I will show you guys the process and share it with you, but it'll be up to you if it helps you a little bit or helps you a lot. The difference will be how much you put in. Okay? Now, when you think of the word you wrote down, I'm just going to call it the magic word, X. No, we'll call it X, okay? So, for example, Michelle wrote down resilience, so we're just going to call it X. And someone else wrote down resilience, we're going to call that X. Whatever you wrote down, it's just known as X. So would you like to improve X? When I asked you, can you think of a time, or what happens when you think of X? When you say that word, is there an example that pops to mind? Do you have a memory of when you were X before? Yes, there is. I want you to pay attention to it. Pay a lot of attention to it. So what happens straight away? Is it one memory? Are there multiple memories? Is it a still picture, or is it a moving picture? Is it a big picture or movie, or is it small? Is it colorful or black and white? Is it clear or focused? And is it, did I say, is it one picture or is there many pictures? Is it behind you or to the side of you or in front of you? I looked at some people's eyes, and some people, it might seem to come behind them. That's it. Now, you've just answered these questions in your mind and you're doing fantastic. Let me explain something for you. So a lot of us will have the pictures behind us, and some of us might have a picture. Some of us might have a big picture. And in the picture, something's happening. What's important now, guys, what's important about X, it's not what's in the picture. We're not worried about what's in the picture now. We're worried about the picture itself. the way the brain stores the picture. We're not worried about what's inside it. We're worried if it's storing a clear and focused picture or a fuzzy picture. Colorful picture, a big picture, big pictures, or small pictures. And this is the process, the way our brain stores it, or the context. And this is the important distinction with our work. We're interested in the process more so than the content. So think again about that X. Some people will have one memory of X. Some people behind them might see multiple. Might see multiple pictures. So let's say I say to myself X, and I think, and there's one memory, and I can kind of see it. Some people might have a moving memory. Some people might have, like, in their mind's eye, you know, they can see like 3 or 4 or 5, or maybe a whole pile of them. So let's pause there for a moment. And I'd like to hear some of you guys share a few words or a couple of sentences in how you see it. Remember, not the content, in how you see it. Is your picture big, small, many, one, moving? Wonderful. Now, I'm going to be wrong here, Golden. See, this isn't what you're saying, but I'm going to say, so is it possible like there's a whole pile for you?
Yeah.
And do you see like a whole pile of things at the same time, or like one after the other after the other?
Well, at the beginning, it's like one pile of thing out there, and then when I get closer, and then when I focus, and then when I concentrate, and then like it becomes more clearer, and I could pull out one by one in order to achieve and then to reach my highest potential through all of it.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Oh, and I didn't ask, but some people may have sound. Golden Seed, did you have sound? Some people may have sound. Some people may have lots of sound.
May I speak, please?
Please.
Yes. Okay. So with mine, it's happiness, and from the past, it's like I've had a happy life, but then it got to a point. I think I put myself into a lot of stress, and I was focusing on people, not me. So I see mine far away. Like what I picture is far away, but then it's different. It's not just one, it's different, and it's in colored, and also it's moving. But then I think there's much better happiness ahead of me, more than what I've experienced.
Excellent. Excellent. Maybe pictures behind in the past and pictures in future. Generally, people have their past behind them or over to one side, and our future is generally in front of us or to the side. You know, put your past behind you. All right. So it's interesting because you're the first person to mention that in front of you as well. And you also said far. In your imagination it was far. In real life, do you think it was far as well? Interesting, hey? Mm. Okay, hey, we're going to work with a lot of metaphors, and the world and the unconscious works in metaphors. You know, when you see a stop sign, that's a metaphor. That means we should probably stop. You guys know what a stop sign means, right? But when you're walking, do you stop? No.
No,
Really,
no,
no.
no.
We don't have those rules. It's a metaphor. Anyway, so the way the brain works, we all have our own way. But if you like to think about it, if the picture is a far way in future or a far way in the back, maybe it's going to be a bit hard to feel it today or tomorrow. And if I was to say to you, you're going to feel a lot of happiness tomorrow or in the next couple of days, you'll probably be like, I don't think so. I don't think so, because the picture's far away. Now, would you like to increase happiness? Would you like to increase truth? Well, do you think it would be useful? Imagine you have a book, all right? And this book is called Your Life. And let's say we're looking, this is your history, your life. And maybe we could have a timeline. You know, this is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, skip a couple, 10, 20, 30, 40, oh, sorry, I don't know, now. So say if we have like a timeline, or a timeline in here, a timeline of your life, how would it be if you went through the timeline in your life and I can't find happiness in here anywhere? Well, we're not going to follow it. It's going to be very hard for us to access it if we can't find it in our own timeline. If we can't find happiness in our own history, it'll be very hard to access it now. And this happens a lot. This happens with a lot of people, actually. They come to some of our workshops. We talk about life purpose and happiness, and some people will be like, I don't know what it feels like to have fulfillment. I don't know what it's like to be on track, or you know, or to be feeling wonderful stuff. And they go back into their memory and they don't really find it. And because they can't find it in their timeline, it's very hard to access it now. Okay, now let's say I want more X, and I look back in my timeline and I go, well, actually, let's say I'm doing happiness. I'm having a shitty day. I look back, nah, none there. That happens as well. But if we take an honest look back, a lot of the times we can actually find happiness. And a lot of the times we might have just brief moments of happiness, brief moments, right? So we actually have a lot more moments of resilience, happiness, love, truth, whatever. We actually have so many more examples. As Golden Seed said, when you focus and look deeper, you find. When you focus and look deeper, you find. So when we look back, we can actually find more examples and more examples and more examples. And then what would happen if you look back and you saw okay. I've got one example now. When I was 22, I got laid. No, what would happen if we found one example? Okay, so happiness. Okay, I got one example. 22. Okay, what would happen if you were to look back and go, 40, 39, 38. Oh, and now I'm at 2019. And what would happen if you found like 20, 30 examples of X in your timeline, in your history? Because when you look and look deeper, they're there. With exception for those people that have never really had a deep sense of X. So sometimes people will say they don't have confidence. And when they look back, they don't find any. But with a bit of a nudge and a bit of a push, they realize, hang on, I was confident. I came to this Zoom call today. I contacted a coach a while ago. I went to a networking event by myself. I asked someone out on a date. And they start to remember various experiences. And because we remember it, it gets bigger and bigger. And we now have more pictures. So now, if we like to, we could look back. So here, I'd like you guys to spend just 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. We're going to use a timer, group activity, 2 minutes. Yeah. 2 minutes. Have you guys all got a notepad or something you can write in? Okay. 2 minutes, start writing down. Just write briefly the date and remember sometimes you had X. Okay, ready for the next step? In those events you wrote down, or in those dates you wrote down, in all of those events you wrote down, are you by yourself in any of them? Or by yourself in all of them? Some people will write down and all the ones of X are with people, or maybe all the ones are by themselves. And that's okay. You might like to consider having some where other people are in it and some where you're by yourself. If some of those memories stand out as really good as well, you might want to try what we call increasing the submodalities. You might want to try increasing the quality of the picture, increasing the color, the focus, the sound. And when you increase the color, the quality, the sound, you'll find it generally increases the emotional response. So if in your past you have a pile of memories now, you can expand this after class as well. So you can expand it afterwards. If you end up writing down 20, 30 examples, you're going to find this easier and easier. Okay. Now, if some of those examples are really, really strong, you increase the feeling like, oh, I was doing this while driving. I deliberately chose to do this for a quality X while driving. And I'm talking like a day's driving, right? Like 5-6 hours driving per day behind the car. So I spent 1 or 2 hours focused on one X. So while I was driving in my car, my memory kept going to all these events of X, and I relived a whole pile of events. And what it did was, it gave me a whole pile of clear markers of X in my life. Okay. Now, when you think about it, how would it be if you have very strong memories of X versus weak memories? So if you have strong memories, And what you may also like to consider is you may like to consider if you can even have a screen where you can see several of them at the same time. So if you can look back and see a screen where you've got like, you know, you look behind you and you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4 pictures, or 1, 2 in a whole pile of pictures, and it's got depth. When you say X, you've got it. You know it inside out. We can use this for self-transformation. You do this for confidence and you'll find your confidence, whoop, and then you may also like to put some, out in the future, and not just in the distant future, but in the not so distant future as well. Cool? Now, when I'm working with my one-to-one clients, my clients have a goal. They want to increase their confidence and increase their business results. To increase the business results, they generally have to increase some quality, perhaps motivation, resilience, drive, focus, or narrow-mindedness. So every time we have a coaching session, we reinforce the positive changes that's happened during the week. Every time we start a call, we reflect on the positive experiences during the week. So every time we're calling, we're strengthening the positive qualities, making our self-concept stronger and stronger. And for Michelle and Jackie, we're doing Submodalities Wednesday night. We're not doing this process, but we're doing the Submodality process. So Jackie, this is a form of using submodalities, and probably submodalities timeline, and this self-concept, which isn't covered, it's only covered in the master training. Happy, Jackie? You get it for free? Yolanda also saw this maybe 6 months ago, and like 2 days later, she was delivering a workshop using this strategy. There's a little bit more to it. I can't recall exactly what it was. I think that's pretty much 90% of it there, but Yolanda did a workshop like a couple of days later, and she used this for like a, you know, and had a whole pile of people breaking down in the classroom. But obviously, guys, when we're doing this live, you know, in person, this is a lot easier, or one-to-one. Keep in mind, we've got like 7 people here, 8 people here.
Thank you, I will join in.
And we don't get taught this stuff. We don't get taught it. We're taught how to do like content, and our lives are so much in content that we don't see the bigger picture. Answers lie in seeing the big picture or the bigger picture. If we're too much in the picture, then we're kind of enslaved to the picture rather than being able to manage pictures. With this kind of stuff as well, we also manage traumas. We can manage limiting beliefs, although all beliefs are limiting. That's the nature of a very belief. We can use some techniques like this with or without hypnosis to make those changes rather fast. Jackie knows we do a fair bit of this using hypnosis as well, which can be really fun and easy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, and when we are talking about, because you can start now regarding our NLP training, I want to say that it is different than others because we put too much energy and effort to bring value to our students and to teach them. So our approach is not just teaching theory and then leave the student, but we also invest time to coach. We have coaching practice if the client wants to practice some skills. So we care a lot about our students to get a high quality training. So when they get certificates regarding practitioners, NLP practitioner, it is really practitioner. It is not just theory and certification process.
Just the theory by itself is pretty good though. Just the theory is good. Just the
But
theory.
without practices,
But
without
yeah,
practice, theory is not value, not worth.
and sometimes we do the practices, and sometimes people don't quite get the theory, but they've done the practices. So what happens is they often end up with like a deeper understanding of it, but they might not be able to articulate it. And this is really funny to watch. It's really funny to watch someone who says, I don't know how to do it. And then they just like kind of like do it wonderfully. And you say, how did you do it? Like, I don't know, did I do it? And that they've learned it through the exercises rather than the theory. Some people love the theory. Some people love doing the exercises. Oh, and by the way, Jackie, I'm not sure if you've seen, Jackie, did you notice a difference in layout between the courses and this current one that's on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Wednesday one, I'm hoping you would have noticed that the Wednesday one is just jam-packed with exercises and a lot less of this.
Okay. I'm interested in this.
Yeah, well, part of the reason we do that is that it's valuable for you as well. So it makes it easier for past students to come back in because you're just going to be doing exercises and not as much theory.
You know, before I'm not interested in hypnosis. I think it's, I don't believe this. After I learned the timeline, yeah, I realized the power of the hypnosis. I saw the different things that happened in my early life. Actually, it changed something, yeah. I applied the timeline to my younger daughter. It's very powerful. It helped her reduce the anxiety and get them a medal.
And a medal.
Yeah. Because she had a much confidence, you know. Confidence is very, very, very powerful, especially for young kids.
That's wonderful to hear. Yes, thank you for sharing, Jackie. I'm very glad to hear this.
She's only six years old. Yeah, she just follow my step, do something, try to hear and watch or feel something. It works very well.
So you took your 6-year-old through a timeline process?
Yeah.
The timeline is 6 years.
I just wanted to help her reduce the anxiety and build the confidence.
Yeah. And did you kind of just make that activity up, or did you use a worksheet for it?
Recently, I try to learn much more about this. Want to go very deeply, then I can make full use of this kind of theory. Yeah, I think I'm not enough to use this.
One way of reducing anxiety is to go out in future.
Yeah, like that.
You did?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Good. Because we gave a sheet for it. We didn't do it in class, so you picked it up. Wonderful. I have not had trouble with the kids, but one thing that blew me away was the simple anchoring exercise. And I won't forget, it's with one of the trainers we use. And we had I think it was like a 5-year-old girl who was like wrapped around her mama's leg all the time. And the little girl came into the class on the very last day. And you've got like 8 people around this table. And somehow the little girl ends up sitting next to the trainer, and the trainer basically like anchored something to her hand, but he did like a really high quality pace lead. I think the little girl was fidgeting with something, and the trainer sharp. The trainer was like started to fidget on the end of his pencil as well. So while she's fidgeting, the trainer was fidgeting. And then he went on to anchor like a couple of different emotions on the fingers or something, and played a bit of a game. And the thing is that the brain is so, especially a child's brain, but the brain is so intelligent. So the next day, she's showing her mummy how she can anchor different things and how different fingers were having different reactions. And then it was like, was it the next day again? She said, "Look, Mum, I can do all of them at the same time." and I checked her out on Facebook, and and then suddenly all these pictures started appearing on the woman's Facebook about her daughter was now, doing this, and her daughter was like, next thing you know, daughter's at school up on the microphone talking to the kids. It really, really blew me away of how powerful NLP can be for kids. And it's just like, damn, if a 6-year-old can learn that, 66-year-old should be able to learn that. But the brain also takes the changes and kind of spreads them out. So guys, once you do this with X, once you figure out how to do it, and when you can do it for yourself, you will start to feel really good about X. So you'll bring up X and you'll have all these positive things, and then you might have to pull up the pictures, but after a couple of times, it happens automatically. And it happens automatically faster and faster. So then you don't have to think X in pictures, it's just X. Yeah, that's right, X, yeah, I got it. Alrighty, thanks for joining us, Stephen and WX962. Well, we would like to hear your questions or anything from you guys. Can you do this activity by yourself? Yes. Do you know how to do it by yourself?
No.
And the best way to do it by yourself is to get yourself a cup of coffee or a warm drink and simply dedicate half an hour to it. So, okay, now I'm going to have a drink and I'm going to do this. Or if it's like 7 p.m. in China, you might want to schedule this for daytime. Coffee, and have it scheduled. Half an hour to just drink this and do this process. And if you schedule it twice, you'll find the second time it will be like, you'll be there. The first time you might be a bit like, and the second time you'll be like, boom.
Always the second time, and the next time we have more experience and doing faster and faster. And but it is always good if you have someone to support you and guide you to the process. So it is good to have to try to go alone, but it is always good to have some coach to guide you through the process.
Yeah, even though I'm the trainer, I still use coaches. Every second week I have my coach session. Every second week I have a coach. And every week I do a 1 hour breath work session, and I still call Darko up from time to time. If I've got a big challenge, I'll just call up Darko. We can do this thing called self-coaching. I've got a problem. Well, by the way, if you guys are going to be self-coaching, if you're going to coach yourself, this is what some people do. They're at the computer and they're struggling, and they think they're going to coach themselves. and they're still at the computer struggling. If you're going to coach yourself, get a whiteboard or a notebook, write the problem down, or write what you're struggling with down, so then it exits your head. It exits your head. You can dissociate and put it on the wall. And then you can stand back a bit and you can self-coach. So if you're going to self-coach, make sure you write it down and put it up on the board. We can't self-coach like, you know, at the computer desk where we do all our work. Yeah. Well, if you do, not well, but yeah.
I can add here, it pops in the mind when you are doing about self-coaching. So there was a technique also Chris shared. So for example, like you say, put the problem on the some side, and then you change here and then say, okay, now I'm in good position. I will work on this, and then come here on other place, and you can say, okay, and ask question, and then change position, then answer the question like a coach. So you are just with simply changing our places, we are changing our states. So for example, when I came here, I have different role. I'm a coach, and I need to ask questions. I need to be more direct. I'm talking about self-coaching. And when I came here, then I'm in the role of coachee, and I need to find and to answer the question to the coach. Here, ask. This is a good methodology and technique to use.
And I'm Aussie, Australian, and I used to be in the military, so I used to self-coach a lot. and yeah, I'm
it is hypnosis, altering state. You are altering your state, your awareness.
Okay, so the NLP, we generally work on the overview and the big picture in the way the brain processes. That means that all the stuff we do with X, this can be applied to financial beliefs, health beliefs, love beliefs. It doesn't make much of a difference. If I'm coaching someone on love, finances, or health, there's a fair chance I'll use a similar process for all three of them. Well, I won't actually, because it'll be a matter of, what have you tried that hasn't worked? Let's not do that. What's something you do like? Do you like doing visualizing? Do you like relaxing? Do you like talking? You know, and find something that does work. And then the processes we use will be more on the process and the context. Manipulating the processes and the context, so it doesn't really matter so much if it's wealth or health. And by the way, a wealth or wealth is pretty much well-being anyway. Wealthy is well-being. Yeah, if you, and there are some people that have a ton of wealth and they have cancer. And there's a ton of people that can touch their toes and do amazing yoga stuff, and they're broke. How is the overall picture of well-being if someone can't afford their rent?
Mm.
You know, or they have troubles fitting through the doorway. They're interlocked. So I really believe in healthy, wealthy being in line. Very, very similar. Sometimes when we have issues in life, it may come out in the health, the wealth, love, different areas in life. So once we start making improvements to some of the core things, people often find improvements in all different areas. Because a lot of the times the roadblocks, and you guys will know this, you have a if you have a bad morning, all kinds of things are hard and effed up throughout the day. Okay, I can see a few boys here. So boys, you know what it's like after you get laid? The next day, everything's easy. Everything's easy. And the reverse. If you got dumped, the next day, everything's, So life generalizes across.
And also to point out that to our responsibility, that it is our responsibility to manage the state. If I, for example, if I do not feel okay, if I do not feel confident and I need to do something, I need to do, not to wait something to happen. And to from the outside world, but me to be the one who will initiate the change. Like all of you are doing now, you want to make some improvement, and you are coming to, thank you for coming to this webinar, gaining new information. Maybe it will inform, maybe it will evoke some inner processes, maybe it will come some ideas after this discussion, who knows. But the good thing for acknowledging is that you have made first step and come here, listen, connect with like-minded people, like everyone here.